A massive, massive and warm welcome to absolutely everyone joining us today. Seriously, whether you are listening on your morning commute, maybe you're making dinner, or just taking a really well-deserved break, we are just thrilled to have you here with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So today's audio summary, this deep dive, it's a really special one. I want you to just imagine for a second standing in this lush, vibrant Mediterranean garden, looking at a delicate first-century Roman artifact, and all while these massive snow-capped alpine peaks are looming directly over your shoulder.
It sounds totally made up.
Right, it sounds like a fantasy. But today, our deep dive takes us to a place where that exact scenario is just a daily reality. We are unpacking the layers of Locarno.
Yeah, Locarno.
Which is this relatively small city in the Italian-speaking Ticino region of Switzerland, sitting right on the edge of Lake Maggiore. And our goal today is to figure out how this one tiny geographic footprint manages to stack ancient history, world-class modern art, intense spiritual traditions, and literal geographic extremes into one identity.
Yeah, it's a brilliant case study in contrasts, really. To really understand Locarno, you have to look at it as this major crossroads.
Okay.
You have the incredibly rugged, imposing, and historically harsh nature of the Alpine mountain range colliding head-on with the relaxed, sun-drenched, almost subtropical culture of the lakes.
It's kind of a weird mix, right?
It is.
Yeah.
When two extreme environments meet like that, they don't just blend into something average. They tend to amplify each other, creating a culture that is highly adaptable and uniquely layered.
So let's start at the foundational layer, right down at the lake level. Because the modern heartbeat of Locarno lives inside some incredibly ancient urban design.
Right, down in the Città Vecchia.
Exactly, the old town. It's defined by these narrow, winding cobblestone alleys. Like if you've ever walked through a historic European center, you know the feeling. The buildings are close together, the shadows are long, the space feels very intimate.
Very tight.
Very tight. But in Locarno, these narrow historical arteries do something highly specific. They aggressively funnel you into this massive, wide-open expanse called the Piazza Grande.
Which is honestly a masterpiece of urban psychology.
Really? How so?
Well, the layout there is completely intentional. Those narrow alleys of the Città Vecchia act almost like a pressurized valve. They don't just gently lead to the Piazza Grande. They actively push people out into it.
Yeah.
It creates what urban planners often call a forced community collision. So the architecture naturally herds locals, tourists, artists, merchants, all of them out of the quiet shadows and into this one pulsating, brightly lit heart of the city.
So you cannot move through Locarno without eventually spilling into that communal space.
Exactly. You're going to end up there.
It functions like the city's giant communal living room, but a living room that completely shapeshifts depending on the season.
Oh, yeah, drastically.
Because in the summer, that ancient cobblestone square transforms into a world-class outdoor cinema for the Locarno Film Festival.
Which is huge.
Yeah, massive. And then the cinematic screens come down, and it becomes the stage for the Moon and Stars concerts. Thousands of people watching international musicians under the open sky.
Yeah.
And then in the winter, the entire space pivots again into something called Winterland, complete with a massive ice rink and pop-up fairy tale bar igloos right in the middle of this historic Renaissance architecture.
Right, and that shape-shifting quality tells you a lot about the local mindset.
How do you mean?
Well, there's a deep reverence for rich tradition. Like, they meticulously maintain the historic arcades and the cobblestones, but it's paired with this fearless, innovative creativity.
Ah, I see.
They aren't treating their history like a fragile, untouchable museum exhibit. They're actively integrating it into modern life, allowing the space to be loud and dynamic and constantly evolving.
Speaking of evolving spaces, if you walk just a short distance from the Piazza Grande, you hit the Camellia Park.
Yeah.
And this is where the geography really starts to kind of mess with your intuition.
It really does.
Because the park boasts roughly 900 different species of the camellia flower. In March, it is just an absolute explosion of color. But wait, we are at the foot of the Swiss Alps.
Right.
How is an ecosystem supporting 900 species of a notoriously delicate flower surviving in a place known for snow and harsh winters?
That is the magic of Lake Maggiore. It's acting as an enormous thermal battery.
A thermal battery.
Yeah, it's all about the specific heat capacity of water. Throughout the long, hot summer, this massive, deep glacial lake absorbs a tremendous amount of solar radiation.
Okay, sure.
And water holds on to heat much better than air or land So as the winter rolls in and the freezing alpine air sweeps down the mountains, the lake slowly releases all that stored summer heat.
Oh, wow.
It acts like a giant radiator, creating a highly localized protective microclimate bubble right along the shoreline, so frost barely touches the ground there.
Which allows an entirely Mediterranean floral ecosystem to thrive in the shadow of glaciers. That is incredible. The lake is literally heating the gardens.
It is.
So, okay, we've walked through the communal living room and the climate-defying parks, but I want to trace this idea of community space backward in time. Because before the Piazza Grande was the center of public life, power was held behind high stone walls.
Right.
If we want to understand the deep time of Locarno, we have to look at the Visconti Castle.
Absolutely. The Visconti Castle represents the old feudal muscle of the region. It was the seat of the federal landowners for centuries.
Like 1513 all the way to 1798, right?
Yes. It's exactly what you picture when you think of a heavy, imposing medieval stronghold. But today, the interior has been repurposed into an archaeological museum that houses artifacts stretching from the late Bronze Age through the Middle Ages.
Right, and here's where I have to stop you because this is where the history completely threw me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because the most highly prized collection inside this medieval Swiss castle is a massive, highly important collection of Roman glassware dating all the way back to the 1st through the 4th centuries AD.
It is surprising.
The geography just doesn't intuitively make sense to me here. Rome is hundreds of miles to the south. Why are ancient Roman glass artisans setting up major production and trade hubs on a Swiss alpine lake?
It's a fantastic question, and it completely disrupts our modern mental map of Europe. Because we tend to think of the Alps as a barrier.
Right, like a massive wall.
Yeah, a wall separating the Italian peninsula from northern Europe. But for the Roman Empire, expansion into the northern provinces was essential, and they needed efficient logistics to move resources and military supplies.
Okay.
But moving heavy goods over jagged, snowy mountain passes on wooden carts was slow, dangerous, and incredibly expensive.
So they look for shortcuts.
Exactly. And Lake Verbano, which is the older Roman name for Lake Maggiore, was the ultimate shortcut. It wasn't just a scenic body of water, it was a frictionless, high-speed logistical highway.
Oh, wow. So it connected the heart of the Roman world deep into the alpine valleys.
Exactly. Now, regarding the glass specifically, glassmaking in the ancient world required continuous, intense heat.
Which meant you needed massive amounts of timber.
Yes. You also needed heavy raw materials like silica sand. So it's far more economical for the Romans to send artisans up the lake highway to set up shop near the abundant alpine forests.
Oh, rather than trying to transport fragile, finished glass vessels over the mountains in horse-drawn wagons?
Precisely. So you end up with highly complex, technologically advanced Roman settlements operating right on the shores of Locarno 2,000 years ago.
That completely reframes how I picture ancient trade. It wasn't just, guys carrying backpacks over a mountain. It was a highly calculated industrial supply chain utilizing the lake's buoyancy and wind.
It was very advanced.
And so these delicate, translucent Roman glass pieces survived the fall of empires, outlast the Middle Ages, and are now sitting inside the walls of a medieval castle.
Which highlights a running thematic pattern in Locarno, placing contrasting eras into direct conversation with each other. You see it at the Visconti Castle, and you see it even more dramatically as you move into the Renaissance era.
Yes, the noble houses. The architecture starts shifting from these heavy military castles into aristocratic domestic spaces.
Exactly.
You have Casa Casarella, which is this grand, elegant 16th century mansion originally built for a wealthy local family, the Lessees. But today, they don't use it to display 16th century tapestries.
No, they don't.
They use this deeply historic space to house permanent collections of modern art, like the Galassi Art Collection. And just down the street, Casa Rusca, which is a gorgeous 18th century building, does the exact same thing, hosting temporary, cutting-edge modern art exhibitions.
It's a very deliberate curatorial choice. When you place a highly abstract modern piece of art against the backdrop of a 16th century aristocratic fireplace, you force the viewer to look at both the room and the art differently.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if we were talking about contrasting art and architecture in Locarno, we absolutely have to talk about the Marguerite Art Foundation in the nearby Solduno neighborhood.